Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. In my personal life, I am a wife to a dedicated law enforcement officer and mama to 3 lively littles. I'm an adamantine yoga teacher, health coach, community betterment advocate, and wellness enthusiast. But what I really like doing is connecting others with tools and resources that bring about health, harmony, and happiness. Whatever this looks like to you, I'm here to offer my own insights and tools from others that allow you to realize your full potential to live mindfully as your authentic, best self. Allow me to be a guide in discovering what works for you. Hey friends, today I am talking to Jana Vink, licensed clinical social worker and business owner of Grace Counseling. She is bringing us some insights, both personal and professional, on balancing work and family. You'll hear how faith, family, and friends all play a critical role in balancing work and family for her and her spouse. Jana has 4 kids and will be the first to admit that she doesn't have it all figured out. But she does share some great nuggets of information on how she and her husband go about raising their family and making that work-life balance possible. Enjoy today's conversation. Okay, thanks, Jana, for taking some time to visit with me today. I'm excited to have you on. I know I don't really know you that well. I've just looked at your website. I visited with you for a very brief moment at another event that we were at earlier this year. But you intrigued me, and so I want to learn a little bit more about you and about your business, and if you have professional advice or just personal advice to give people on how to balance work and family. So tell my listeners a little bit more about your background and your family dynamics.
Sure. Well, my professional title is I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and my background is a little interesting because I graduated with my undergrad in 2000, and I worked in the field of social work for about 9 years before we made the decision. Notice the word I said, we made the decision for me to go back to school for my master's. And so at the time I had 2 children, and a month after I started grad school, I found out I was pregnant with my third.
It's so how things work. Like, God just has this amazing plan, right? I don't know.
He does. So I was able to finish my first year of grad school, and then that summer I had my third child, and then finished grad school with 3, and then after grad school I had my 4th child. After grad school, actually during grad school, while going to grad school, we're still working at Methodist Hospital in the intensive care unit, and I've done that for 15 years total. But I was also working for the ALS Association, serving families affected by Lou Gehrig's disease across the state of Iowa as a care services coordinator. So when I finished grad school, I actually did transition to working for the ALS Association full-time for 1 year. But then the family dynamics changed. My father-in-law passed away suddenly, and he was a great support in getting my children to their activities and things of that nature. So I decided that it was time to be a little closer to home. So I started working for Pine Rest Christian Mental Health Services in Pella full-time, while still working at Methodist Hospital in the intensive care unit part-time. And I did that for about 5 years before last year making the decision to launch out on my own and start Grace Counseling here in Pella. And just about a month or so ago, I brought on a second clinician that's been working with me, and his name is John Fickert. So we've kind of been making a go of things here, and so I now have 4 children, married for 20-something years now, and enjoying life.
What made you decide to make that leap where you go out on your own? And what gave you the courage to do that?
For me, it was very clearly what was going to be best for my family. The benefit of me working for myself is I'm able to create my own schedule around my children's activities. My oldest is going to be a freshman in high school. My youngest is going to preschool. And I realized that I only had 4 years with my oldest left. And I wanted to be available and present, not only for my oldest, but my second, who's going to be a seventh grader, my third one, who's going to be a fourth grader. And being available for them in their activities meant I needed to have more flexibility in my schedule. So, wanting more time for my family, wanting more flexibility to attend my children's events was really kind of the push that I needed.
That's cool. That's it. It makes such a difference when you have a little bit more control over and a little bit more say over what you can do and when you can go. I think that's a big part of balancing work and family for some people. That's how my husband and I have to do it as well. We have weird, wonky schedules, and so if we didn't have that flexibility, or I didn't have the flexibility in doing my own thing, it would be challenging for sure.
Right. Absolutely.
So you mentioned attending school activities and making sure that that is something that's a priority for you, but you also have younger children too. So how do you fit playtime in, and what does that look like to you? Whether it's attending events or having fun.
Sure. I think there's a balance, and my children kind of are aware that we have seasons in our family, and seasons of being in school and activities, and we very much kind of take it almost sport by sport or event by event. My oldest one enjoys theater and participating in theater, and different more music events. My next one is way more involved in sports, and so we kind of look at it as how can we all support that one person while they're doing something, meaning our schedules have to flex around that person's perhaps schedule, practices or games or something of that nature. So we kind of all just flex our time and know, okay, well, if I have to run a child this direction, my oldest is old enough to stay with my others. So we just all kind of work together as a team to make sure we get things done. Is it always the easiest to do it that way? No, but I tend to remind my children that, last week we did it the other way so you could attend the things that you wanted to attend. So it's working out well. And my oldest now has a school permit. So we're entering into that whole third driver thing, which is really scary. But that may change the dynamics as well.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It'll hopefully sooner make things a little bit easier for you too, because that takes one more running off of your plate.
Exactly.
So, cool. So what do you do for your own self-care then?
That has changed through time as well. Our family is very big on what my kids call movie party, which is just picking a movie, and a lot of times it's pizza, but sometimes it's something else. And we all watch the movie together. And, being a family of 6, there's often negotiating over which movie we're going to watch and things of that nature. But that's a really big self-care activity for myself and my children, because we're all there together, and it provides for conversation with whatever movie that we pick, negotiation and things of that nature. I also enjoy exercising. I try and do that at least twice, if not 3 times a week. I enjoy going out with friends to dinner. I enjoy traveling. Usually we travel with our children, but sometimes we don't. So usually I can tell when I'm getting worn down and when I need to kind of back off things. And that's the other beautiful part about owning my own business too, is I'm working on balancing and making sure that I'm be able to give everyone my best when I'm providing therapy and counseling services and working. And I do that by making sure my schedule is better balanced both in and outside of my office.
So speak to that a little bit more. I know you mentioned before we were recording about how you've got some changes that you're trying to make and that you're trying to implement. What does that look like?
Well, I don't remember in my entire life since college. I think one time in college I had 5 part-time jobs at one point.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, up until today, I've never had one job, ever.
Oh my goodness.
I've always had more than one job. A lot of things part-time, PRN on the side. I enjoy working. I enjoy giving back. I'm kind of dedicated to the cause of what social work is and clinical social work. So that's always been kind of at the forefront of my passion and what I feel I'm called to do. But through starting Grace Counseling and the demands of my time here, the growth of my business with bringing on other therapists, it became clear that um, it was time to step away from Methodist Hospital, a job that I've enjoyed and loved for 15 years. And really it boils down to, again, making my family the priority. And when I work there, I work anywhere from 10 to 12-hour shifts. And with the commute, it very quickly turns into 12 or 14-hour days. And so that doesn't allow me to quick run to one of my children's events. And so with the growth of my business, I'm also doing some contracting work through the AEA at one of the local school districts. And so they approached me this past year. I did it just one day a week, kind of to help out with a grant that they had. And they asked me to come back. And we negotiated, and I finally settled on I'll be there 2 days a week next year. So I'll be in my clinical office 3 days a week, and I'll be at North Mahaska 2 days a week. And so with that balance, I just simply knew that it was time to step away from Methodist Hospital. So after 15 years, coming up the beginning of August, I will be finished there, which will be a very big change because I work holidays, I work weekends and things of that nature. So my family's still trying to figure out like what that's actually going to look like, because everybody knows the rhythm of what my schedule is. And we kind of work, again, life around that schedule. But, you know, my priorities are my faith and my family. And so I constantly, when I have to make decisions about things, I look through that lens of what's going to give me the most opportunity to participate and grow my faith and help people in faith, and then also to balance the priorities of the blessings God has given me, which is my family. So while that's a difficult decision for me for after 15 years to step away, I definitely feel like it's the right decision that's going to provide me opportunities for this season of my life. And we'll just see, you know, what God leads to next. But right now, my husband is thrilled because he's like, you're actually only going to have like one W-2 to file this year instead of all these other W-2s that we have to wait to come in. So he's happy about it. And my kids are excited, but they really don't know what it's looked like because I've worked that job longer than I've had any of my children. So they don't know any different. So
Wow.
It'll be interesting to see how this all goes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What does your husband do, or what is his schedule like? So how does that work with getting kids where they need to be?
My husband has a little bit of a flexible schedule. He is a school business official for a local school district, and he's done that for 12-ish years. And so, like this last school year, my husband's usually responsible for getting my kids up and taking them to school, and I go to work early. That generally provides me the opportunity of being off early, so then I can kind of take the after school schedule and kind of get kids run around where they need to be, and then he can work a little bit later in the evenings.
I love that.
So we just kind of try and divide things up, and then the assumption is if it's a before school issue, you know, it's kind of on his plate, and it's an after school issue, it tends to be more on my plate. But we juggle all the time. We get a lot of support from family and friends. I have a phenomenal daycare provider that I could not do this. She's been my daycare provider for over 12 years. And I very clearly have always said, if you don't do what you do, I don't do what I do. Because I absolutely, having reliable, phenomenal daycare for my children has been a very big priority for me as well.
And that's an in-home person?
It is.
Yeah. Your schedule sounds kind of like ours. My husband I teach every morning, 5 to 8. So like my husband's got to do the morning stuff pretty much. And then I am done so that I can, that was a really scary thing for me over this past year, is that I did have an afternoon class that was like from 4:30 to 6.
Sure.
And it was so inconsistent because other things become a priority in the afternoon. If you don't practice yoga in the morning, like that kind of is one of the first things that people let go, you know, is if they're going to take time for themselves or not. Mm-hmm. And the numbers weren't adding up. And so I decided to drop those classes. And that was my big factor was my family. I don't get to see my family at all in the morning. So I want to be available for them in the evening and picking them up from daycare and being able to spend time and do the dinner thing with them because I don't get any mornings with them.
Right.
So that's, that's an incredible thing. Do you find that that was hard for you to do, or do you feel like you miss mornings with your kids, or what speak to that a little bit more?
We've been doing this routine for a while. And so I don't know that I miss them because I found out when I was in grad school um, that I wanted, not only did I want to, but I really did realize that my husband spending time with my children without me there was a gift to both of them, because it taught them that my husband can do things just as well as I can. He can make decisions just as well as I can. He can, create a routine and a schedule just as well as I can. Does he do things differently than I do? Absolutely. However, I wanted them, and I will say the blessing of that has been is my children have a wonderfully close relationship with their dad that I would never ever take back. So instead of me saying, well, I'm missing things, it's look at the opportunity my kids and my husband are getting by having this routine that they do over and over again. And they know if it's a morning thing, they have to talk to dad because I don't know. I don't know how it goes. I don't know, and again, they have to negotiate between them because I'm just out, instead of it being, oh, well, does that fall on mom's plate, or how's that mom's responsibility to take care of things? And again, it really provides an opportunity for both of us to be active in our parenting with them.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that because
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge shift in the mindset and how to look at it, but yet very small. Like that's just, one word, let's look at it as an opportunity, and they do get to spend more time with dad, and he has to do his part do his part too, and can't just rely on you.
Right. And we have to communicate more effectively between the two of us too, because for example, if someone didn't get homework done or needs to get up earlier the next day to finish something before school, our communication has to be on track. Now, I will be very honest, is it always perfectly organized and smooth sailing? Absolutely not. But we have in our family what we call the Sunday night meeting, and people who are in our close knit circle know, don't ask me about the next week until we've had our Sunday night meeting, because we have to organize and look at schedules and figure out who can do what when. And so Sunday night, we attend church, and then we sit down and have this meeting for the week to organize, to make sure that we have transportation for everything. And after his schedule and my schedule are sorted, we see what's missing for our kids is in transportation, and then that's when we ask for support from our family and friends.
That is awesome. I love that idea. I love it. We keep everything on our Google Calendar, but even still, it's when my husband comes to me and says, "Do you have someone for this, or do you have someone to take care of the kids for this?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't looked that far ahead on the calendar yet, but
Right.
thanks."
Right.
To have a dedicated time is wonderful. And my husband's in law enforcement, and he's on one of the state's TAC teams, so he has call outs that he has to do sometimes, and sometimes we don't know about those until a day before or
Right.
2 days before. So we too have a great in-home daycare provider who we just couldn't do what we do without her. And there's been times when I've used a nanny too in conjunction with that provider because my husband is gone during the week,
Yep.
and we just have to have that, and we have to have someone coming to our house at 4:40 in the morning.
Yes.
So surrounding with the village of people to help raise the kids is definitely is a must. It has to
Right.
be.
Right. Absolutely.
So you talked about the communication with your husband and making sure that you're on the same page. What does your relationship look like with your husband?
um, I giggle because most people who know us will know that we both have kind of take charge personalities. And so it's really kind of more of deciding what is it that he's taking charge of and what is it that I'm taking charge of. And again, when I reference the fact that we decided for me to go back to grad school, it was very much a we decision. And I clearly remember the conversation, and I said, if you don't think that this is a good idea, I'm not going to do it. Because when we function as a team, there's very little that we can't accomplish. But if, you know, there's other competing factors in our lives, for example, work stress, child rearing stress, lack of sleep, or something of that nature, we both really have to work on making sure that, we keep our goals in mind, of goals for that day, goals for that week, goals for our family in mind, to kind of keep us on the same page. And like I said, if you know me professionally, or anyone has ever come to see me, I'm a very much a real person, and I say I don't have it all together either. I know what helps, and I try to do the things that I'm asking you to do, because I know that they work. But all of us are a work in progress, and that includes our communication skills, and really just a healthy respect for each other, that, we're in this together, we're partners, we want to raise our kids the same way, we have the same values that we want to instill in them. And when we kind of are seeing the same issue differently, then, how do we respectfully resolve that? And that takes time and practice too.
Yeah, it sure does. How long have you guys been married?
That's a really good question. It will be 22 years later this week.
That's incredible. I just talked to another guy who, he and his wife have been married for 24 years coming up this fall. And he said, kind of a lot of the same things, is like, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do to get by. But his kids are all now going, like, their high school and beyond. So it's fun getting your perspective and hearing with the little kids also how that works. Do you guys have set goals, like family goals, that you communicate with your kids, and that they know, hey, this is what's a priority in our lives, or this is how we're going to make things work? And do you sit down and talk with your kids about things like that?
Because our faith is the cornerstone of what we are in our family. Our dedication to our faith and integrating that in every aspect of our life is very important. So generally, that's the framework that we use in looking at any situation. If we have competing values, or competing time schedules, or competing anything, is that we step back and say, okay, in the big picture, what are the values that is driving this decision? What is the faith influence on this decision? And we try and work together to get through those things as best as we can.
That's wonderful. Good way to keep it in the forefront of every decision then that you're making.
Right.
And so it's not just a spur of the moment, or is this what's going to be best for our family,
right.
Quickly, but let's dive in.
Right. Well, the benefit of my two oldest, one is going to be a seventh grader, the other one's going to be a freshman, is you're going through a lot of those adolescent changes. And I will be the first to say our world is very much changing because of technology. I see it professionally, I see it personally. And so when we teach about technology and social media and things of that nature, and I say the word teach, but really it's more of a conversation. We explore motivations behind social media. We explore motivations behind technology. And what we're called to be in this world looks different to us, and how we handle technology and social media. And so we're ever examining that topic with our children, and friendships, and how that all changes in both middle school and high school, and kind of using that as our framework to explore all these really tough things that kids go through.
Yeah, that's incredible. I'm going to need some tips on that someday. It's kind of a scary thing how much things are changing, and we just have to alter the way that we look at life and communicate and all of that.
Well, and our children are really natives in the technology world, and we are all immigrants. We didn't have technology growing up, and so we're immigrating we're part of this, we've arrived there, we know about it, but our children are natives. They don't know the world without technology.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's that balance that we can provide to them over time, that we can hopefully influence them, because they're going to need technology in their lives. They're going to, even if we said no technology and they got out of high school or college, the very first job that they would go to would have technology involvement. So really, it's how are we stewards of the technology? How do we have it be part of our world, with not it being our entire world? And kind of wrestling with that, because that may look different to each one of my children too. I don't know. We take it day
True.
by day.
True. Very good point. So bringing this all together, how do all of these techniques and tips that you use, how do they create health, harmony, and happiness in your life?
Um, I think that, again, I look through my faith lens, and I really focus on, am I walking what I'm called to do? Am I representing my faith? Not because I'm obligated to, but because I'm doing that in response to the gift that my faith is in my life. And so when I look at health, harmony, and happiness, it's really through the lens of, am I doing what I've been called to do as a believer, as a follower? And so decisions about my family, decisions about my job, decisions about relationship with my husband, all of those are affected by my worldview and my framework. And I will be the first to say, again, I'm not perfect in it. And when I'm not perfect, I even have that framework to say, how do I go back and apologize and take ownership for my mistake or my misjudgment in that? And constantly, humbly looking at, how do I walk forward, serving my God, serving my family, and serving those in my community around me. And that's what provides balance, because when I look at doing that, um, it clarifies, how do I spend my time and what do I spend my energy doing? And it provides me some boundaries around my time and energies, but it also at the same time energizes me so that I can continue giving to others as well.
I am of the same belief as you. I just don't think we can get very far unless we have that at the center of our being and our goal, and how we serve others. And are we serving others as Jesus would want us to, right? Are we loving others no matter what the situation is? If you can bring love into that and walk that path, then that's going to be the best decision for everybody. And especially when you look at it in serving your family, um, and making those decisions as a family too.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you and your husband do for social life, for relaxation, that's outside of your kids? Because we all know that is crucial as well. You have to spend that time with just each other or with friends, enriching your relationship with each other as well. So tell me a little bit more about what you guys choose to do.
We have a tradition, and we try and uphold the tradition that when it's my birthday, my husband's birthday, our anniversary, we try and spend the day just with each other doing what that person wants to do. So if it's my birthday, I choose what we do all day. And again, it could be actual things like perhaps a civic center show or dinner or something, but it also could be like, I'm like, we're not going anywhere, and I'm not changing out my pajamas all day, and that's what I decided I wanted to do, and then we both do it, and the other person really doesn't ask questions. For my husband, he loves movies, so he could spend all day in the movie theater, and if you know me much, I don't sit still that long. But so for me, that's a sacrifice for his birthday, because I'm not used to sitting that long. But that's how we spend time, usually individually. We try and take a trip every 5 years with just the two of us. But then outside of that, we have a very close friend group that we enjoy being with and hanging out with. We have a lot of similarities. Our children are roughly in the same ballpark ages. So a lot of times we will spend time with them, either dinner or a community activity, or possibly at someone's house, just playing games or letting our kids run around, or just sitting around and talking. And that usually kind of provides us with time away from our children and things like that. I will say it has gotten a lot easier as my older ones have gotten older, so that way, because daycare and babysitting is always an issue, and so we've gotten to a place now where our children are okay for a period of time by themselves, and we just always obviously make sure all the safety components are in there, and that allows us a little bit more freedom of being able to say, oh well, we can go do something for a couple hours and just go do it.
So different. Such a
Mm-hmm.
different feeling, isn't it? We just
It
had a
is.
whole week without our kids. They were at my parents' house, and it was like, oh my gosh, what do we do with this time?
Right.
What do
The house
we?
stays clean. You
Yes,
don't need to feed people all the
yes,
time.
it's so incredible. It's
Yes.
so incredible. You're not
Yes.
doing laundry all the time and just,
Right.
oh my gosh, oh my
Yes.
goodness. And I have a 5 and a 3-year-old. So
Mhm.
the 5-year-old's pretty independent. Like and he's like Mr. Responsible.
Right.
But there's still those things that you just have to do for them. And,
Right.
you can't get around it. And so,
Right.
yeah, you're getting to that a little bit more of the freedom. It was
Yes.
some
We're
of your
finally getting
kids.
there. Yes. Yes. They're all getting there slowly. Each one of them still need things, but still being that availability of, quote unquote, tucking them in at night or putting them to bed at night. And those connection pieces are still important regardless of what age they are.
Yeah,
But, again, still saying it's okay for you to go out and hang out with your friends or participate in a sporting event or whatever they want to do. But, we need some time too. And again, kind of showing them that balance on top of just talking about it too.
absolutely. I think my mom, even when we would come home from college, my mom would still sometimes read to us at night. And that bedtime routine and just the time that offers for them to also share gratitudes for the day or prayers for other people that they may be thinking of throughout their day. It's so important and so crucial in those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, though some of the freedoms are nice. That's for sure.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
for sure. Okay. Anything else you want to share, or any other tips that you can think of that you'd want to share with someone who may be like, you know what? Here's the other thing: single parenting. How? How do you have any good insights for those who are doing this on their own and braving this world?
Um, Both professionally and personally, I'm aware of the demands of single parenting. I'm obviously not a single parent, but I think, what we referenced earlier regarding having this network of family and friends that support and love your kiddos as much as you do is super important. And that's where, again, I feel so blessed because we do have that. There are many single parents that don't have that. And I always say family is not always just determined by blood, and creating a family and a network, maybe of single parents and wherever you are is important. Creating networks within the community, regardless if that's tied to school or church or MOPS or any other type of event where you all have kiddos, even if you're all soccer moms or your kids participate in taekwondo or your kids all go to the art center. Get to know those moms and help each other out because you all have something the other one needs, and you can all work together to make sure things are good for all of your kids, because really that's what community is about. Um, and so using that to the best of their ability. But I know that single parenting is a long and hard road, and I really give a lot of respect and props to those people who are doing it by themselves, because it's tough, and I really admire them for all of the work and energy that they put into parenting their kids and giving them the best start.
I completely agree. I completely agree. It would be hard, and it's quite admirable for those
Mm-hmm.
who do that. So, thank you for that insight and sharing that. Okay, we're gonna wrap things up. Where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Sure.
And are you taking new clients right now?
So my website is www.gracecounselingiowa.com. Um, and all of our information is listed on our website. Um, and right now, my schedule is full. My other clinician, John Fickert, has openings, and he sees adults. He does marital work, um, works with anxiety and depression and things of that nature as well, and really works well with both men and women alike. And we work well together because often I will see a female, he will see the male. We often coordinate services between the two of us. But with the demands of my time, with being in both at North Mahaska and in my office, I currently have a wait list. He has openings usually within a week or two, which has been really great because we can get people in fairly quickly. And then we just work as a team on a lot of different avenues as well.
Cool. Sounds like a good mix or a good match, I guess.
Yes.
And that's excellent to know. So I will put up the link to your website in the show notes for this episode, and how people can get a hold of you guys to hopefully schedule if that's something that interests them.
Yep, all of our bios are there in the populations we see, the insurance information, and the best part is that when you go online, you can just simply book through the website, because I know sometimes calling in and saying I need to make an appointment can sometimes be a little intimidating. So people can choose to call in. Our phone number is listed on there, or they can just go through the website and book as well, and it's all done electronically for privacy.
Cool. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Jana. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, too. And I will send you an email and let you know when this is going to air and all of that, so you've got it. So
sounds
cool.
Great.
Thanks, Jana.
Best
Have a good one.
Your little one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, from a busy mom and businesswoman, she had some great insights to share. I especially like how she uses the solid foundation of faith as the framework for all their family decisions. I know for us personally, sometimes we get caught up in the rush of everything and just the craziness and chaoticness of life and forget to keep that faith as the center. And is it good for our family? Is it good from a faith lens, the decision that we're trying to make? So that was a good reminder for me, at least. Hopefully you all grabbed some stuff from that episode as well. Again, that was Jana Vink. And if you want to get in touch with her or find out more about her services, you can visit gracecounselingiowa.com to schedule an appointment or just check out what all they have to offer in the event that you may know someone who would need their services. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you hear, help us grow this podcast by sharing it with even just one other person. And it would mean so much to me if you would take a moment of your time to write a review. Your comments and feedback are what help me continue to bring you topics and guests that can help you and others on their journey in creating health, harmony, and happiness. Remember to head on over to KarenYogaWellness.com to get the show notes and links from today's episode. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Karen Yoga Wellness, and to continue connecting with more resources that could help you enhance health, harmony, and happiness in your own life, subscribe to this podcast. Thanks again for listening.